Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mormonish. I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Landon.
And this is our very last podcast of the year. Can you believe that?
It's gone by fast.
It has gone
Another
by fast, and we did it. It was like, when did we start doing two a week? It was kind of more at the beginning of the year, like a year ago. We're like, let's do two. I think it was in the Tim Ballard era where we're like, we have to get so many podcasts out. We have kept it up. How did we do that?
uh will your will
Oh,
your
oh, oh,
willpower.
here we go again. You've mentioned this a few times. Somebody said to me, I think Landon's being gaslit into do all these podcasts. Yeah, it's like people are going to say, Landon, blink twice if Rebecca is making you work too hard.
Right.
Well, I hope that's not the case. We have so much fun researching and putting these together and then taping them and having so much fun communicating with everybody in the live chat because there's just a never ending amount of topics. Isn't that right, Landon? Like so varied, so different, just so much to cover.
We could probably do two a year for 10 years or two a week for 10 years at this rate. So
I feel like we could. Do you think that people would listen to senior citizen post-Mormon podcasters?
they listen to President Nelson. So
Okay. You're right. You're right. We can be octogenarians and still podcasting, maybe with some kind of red chair, like Photoshop, like this, maybe something. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
what we need. Yeah, we don't have the PR department that he has to keep him propped up. So
no, we don't. Literally and figuratively
yeah.
propped up. That's exactly right. So anyway, this is our New Year's Eve podcast, and Landon has the shirt. Can you lean up a little bit to show people
I got my Happy New Year shirt.
Wow.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah. Woohoo. He wears this in public. I know. It's a choice. It's a choice, and that's okay. So,
Well, it's time. You got to celebrate something, and a new year is a good thing to celebrate.
That's right. And you look very nice. That's great. So we were trying to think of what we could do for New Year's Eve. I know everybody's headed out to parties. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So I again went to social media because that's where it seems like all the interesting stuff is happening. And there was a post probably about a week or so ago where somebody just threw out there, how Mormon were you? Right? How Mormon were you? And they kind of said, okay, there's a lot of really deep, troubling stuff we could say and get into, but this, they wanted to kind of keep the tone a little more light, just as far as the things that families did and people did. And there were hundreds, like topping out almost 400 comments on this of people just writing things that they did growing up that they probably thought were perfectly normal growing up until you get on the other side of it and you're like, did we really do that? And I was really surprised. There were some things on there. I always talk about my extremely Orthodox Mormon upbringing. There were a lot of comments where I'm like, wow, I thought my family was the only one. So we thought it would be really fun at the end of the year to just go through, and I pulled 50 of them. I'm telling you, there were hundreds of them. Some of them were repeats or kind of the same vein. So I tried to pull out things that represented, certain kinds of genres of Mormon behavior. So I'm sure you guys will see yourself in these comments. And I hope the chat is just going crazy with people sharing their own stuff, because I think you kind of have to process it. Is it kind of like if you don't laugh, you're going to cry? Maybe that's it. I don't know, Landon, you looked at the list. How do you feel?
Well, it's a new year, and I think we can all look at this and look back at how we were and say, let's be better.
You know what? That is it exactly. That's why we chose to do this topic for New Year's. So every single one on here was taken from this social media post and all of the comments. None of these are made up. A couple of them are my own. I threw some in because some of the other posts jogged my memory. A couple belong to Landon. And I just think we're going to dive in and go through them. Like I said, we have 50. How Mormon were you? Right? So let's go to the first one. We'll just kind of take turns. I'll read the first one, and you read the second. We'll just go back and forth. And
okay. Do we start out by saying how Mormon were you?
Yeah, each one is like that. Yep, I have it just like that. So, okay. My family did this. I did not know that any other family did this. Number one, I was so Mormon that I didn't know what a coffee table was until after leaving, and somebody called it that. We always called it the living room table. In my family, we could not say coffee table. And I don't know if we called it living room table. I think we just called it the table or something like that. We didn't have a we didn't even have a coffee table, but yeah, I was never allowed to refer to any that piece of furniture as a coffee table. Did you have a similar scenario, Landon?
I did not. We had a coffee table and we called it a coffee table.
You're a heathen.
I know.
Okay, if this were a drinking game, you are not an
I'm not.
orthodoxly
That's
raised
right.
Mormon. If you didn't call it a coffee, yeah, that's just so funny.
Well,
So,
my dad grew up as he was a convert, and his whole family drank coffee, so I don't think he had a problem calling it a coffee table.
so you had a more relaxed view, yeah. And my
Yeah.
parents, yeah, they did not. Nope, it was not a coffee table. You couldn't really even say the word coffee. So there you go. All right, you can take number 2, Landon.
Okay, number 2. I was so Mormon, I went to Nauvoo on my honeymoon. Oh God.
And again, people didn't really expand on these. It was just this list, and you just have to picture what that might have been.
Did he take a couple others with him? I mean, that's what you do in Nauvoo on a honeymoon.
I showed up with one bride, and after my honeymoon in Nauvoo, I came home with 4. Yep, that would pretty much be what happened. So, yeah, this picture is not a picture of that couple. I have no idea who they were, but I thought that was great. Number 3, I was so Mormon, I made the corporation of the president of the beneficiary of my 401k. So, yeah, this
Oh,
is a heavier one. This is not funny.
oh,
My parents, in some ways, sort of did that. They wanted to do more, but as they got older, family members were able to kind of, help them maybe see that that wasn't a great thing to do. But I kind of work in this realm, and I do process a lot of paperwork for a lot of people that are funneling things directly to the church. And so I have to work with that office and call them, and talk to them about how to do it. And they make it very easy. Let's put it that way. They make it very easy to be able to turn over stocks, bonds, make donations, your required minimum distribution to go straight to the church. They make it very simple to financially leave things to the church.
well, hopefully he put his wife on there before them, or vice versa. If it's a
Yeah.
woman, at least put their spouse on there if they're married. Because wow, this one, I can't even laugh at this one. I'm just going,
No.
oh no, oh
Yeah.
no. How many other people have done this? That's just,
Yeah. And I feel like they probably put the spouse, but then it's the kids, right? And it
yeah,
reminds me of that ad that they put out. They pulled it right away, but it was basically some parents. And the idea was if your children aren't faithful and they're not going to use your hard earned money to build up the kingdom by paying tithing or fast offering, any of the others, don't leave your money to your kids. Make sure you leave your money to a place where it will build up the kingdom. There was a backlash to that. I think even faithful Mormons were like, okay, that's a little too far, but it was an actual ad and they took it away. But I'm sure it exists somewhere out there. But that was a sentiment. I think it
if
still is.
if
It's just not overt.
if this is you or you've done this, go immediately, get online and change this today. That just, a corporation that has hundreds of billions of dollars and they're taking people's 401ks. Wow.
Yeah. Or IRAs. Yeah. And that's interesting you would say that, because I remember seeing a post a couple years ago where somebody said, oh my gosh, I think I still have it filled out to leave a portion, or have made a portion, to have made them a beneficiary. So that is good New Year's advice. Review your financial plan that you made as a Mormon. There may be some changes that you need to make in it and you haven't thought about it. See, we're doing a PSA. This is good.
There you go. Wow, that one's just
Okay.
horrible.
That was a heavy one. That almost shut down the whole fun, lighthearted idea we had here. Huh? Okay. Whose turn is it? Mine or yours?
It's mine.
Okay.
I was so Mormon that we couldn't play Go Fish because using face cards was gambling. Okay, I are they playing Go Fish with the face cards and not with this Go Fish card deck? I'm guessing, right?
I don't know, because in my family, it was anything shaped like a card. It
Card,
didn't matter
really?
what was on it. Old Maid, Go Fish, Uno. If it is shaped like a card like that, you might get that feeling shuffling, and you might like it's a gateway deck, right? And then
Yeah.
it leads you to face cards. And the next thing you know, you're in Vegas, you've gambled away your mission money, and it's over.
We could not have face cards, but we could play like Go Fish if it was a
Yeah.
Go Fish deck. So,
Yeah, there's a huge difference in families on this I've seen because when I went to BYU, and I've talked about this before, I didn't know how to play anything. I didn't know what the suits were. I didn't know what cards meant. I didn't know what the names were. I knew nothing. And so many of my roommates are like, "Hey, let's play," and their families had wonderful memories of playing all kinds of games using face cards, and I knew nothing about it. I was really a fish out of water.
a very interesting one.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
here we go. Okay. This is number 5. And I hope you guys are commenting and letting us know if your family fit into any of these categories, because like I said, these are real. These are not fabricated. Number 5, I was so Mormon, I graduated from Institute twice. And I would have graduated a third time if the director hadn't decided he didn't want to give me a third certificate. So that, I mean, you have to attend a certain number of classes and do a certain amount of work to graduate even once. So this person went twice, a third time until the instructor said, maybe go get married or something like that.
what kind of degree do you get from the institute?
It's like a certificate. You know how you get one of those from seminary.
Seminary. Okay.
I always had to laugh because, my parents got married in the early 60s. They were at the University of Washington, and, there were limited amount of LDS kids there. And so they went to Institute, and basically the 15 girls married the 15 guys that were there, because that's
Yeah.
just what you do. But whenever people would ask my parents where they met, they always would say at the Institute, which somebody, you would think, like, what, a mental institute? I mean,
Mental
I remember being
institution.
so embarrassed that they would say that, like everybody should know. And nobody knew. It's like, oh, okay, that explains a lot. That explains your daughter, right? So we met at the Institute. Yeah.
This
So
guy was desperate for dates if they were at
maybe.
the institute that much.
Yeah, yeah. And it could be a girl. I don't know, who these
Yeah,
posters
either
are.
way.
So it could be anybody, but yeah, they definitely took it seriously. So okay, your turn.
I was so Mormon that I had a district of missionaries over for
Oh.
Thanksgiving. I, in some places, I don't know where this person is. That you had to invite the whole district because no one else
Yeah,
would do it. There was only a couple families that would ever take care of the elders, and so that you did, obviously on Thanksgiving you can't leave them without food. So
exactly.
I think this one says they're kind as well. So
Exactly.
I can
Yep.
understand this one.
Yep, I think so too. And I think especially on the post-Mormon side of things, we're like almost even more feeling more protective because we understand, this great duress that they're under. I saw a post the other day about someone in the post-Mormon community had seen some missionaries in Boston. One had a nice parka on, it's sub-zero. The other missionary did not have a coat. And this person talked to them and he goes, I just don't have a coat. The person called the mission office and just said, are you freaking kidding me? So if anybody wants to send some coats to the Boston mission, apparently there's some kids there that don't have a coat for whatever reason. So I think we do all notice, we take note, and we feel really protective. So even as a post-Mormon, I think a lot of us we'd have them over for dinner or help, especially around the holidays. So, but that is funny if your family's like every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, the ones that always have, the missionaries over. So, but you're right, that's kindness. All right, let's see. I'm losing track because I'm talking so much. I'll just read this. Number 7. I was so Mormon that I believed my boyfriend when he said he'd prayed about us getting married and he got the answer yes. I didn't get an answer, but his must have been right. Yeah, because he had the priesthood. Having been a BYU co-ed, I can attest to this. I had not been on campus more than a week before the roommate of a guy friend of mine from home, we went on, it wasn't even a real date. It was like to the Cougar Eat to have ice cream kind of with a group. And he said to me, I have had an impression that you are the one. This is like a week into my freshman year. And I'm like, the one what? So I didn't take it too seriously. And he got engaged by the end of the semester to somebody else. So I just kind of brushed it on. But, some people that take that pretty seriously. But again, nobody can have a revelation for you, right? You shouldn't let them. You shouldn't give it any credibility.
What's that church movie where the guy comes up and says, "Oh, I've had a vision. You're the one."
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of that. It
Yeah,
was one of those old ones,
I think a
but
Summer of Decision is something where the girl is no, it's How Near the Angels. It's my favorite one where the girl's about to get married and she's looking back at the other boys that she dated and how they were inappropriate, and she finally found the one that she wanted. But you're right. The first thing he said when he came up to her is, I'm going to be your husband.
yeah. So they kind of been promoting that the guy comes up and tells you he had a vision that you need to do that. That started with Joseph Smith and it's never gone away.
Historical precedents. That's exactly
That's
right. So
right.
yeah, some of these old church videos, that's another one I should add. I was so Mormon that my family only watched, videos from the church library or film strips or slideshows with no TV. So yeah, I've seen all those, but you can learn a lot from those about, kind of how it used to be. All right, your turn. Number 8.
Okay, I knew a friend at BYU who was so Mormon she worried about brushing her teeth on fast
Mm-hmm,
Sunday
mm-hmm,
because she
mm-hmm.
couldn't help but swallow a little bit of
Uh-huh.
water.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. That
you
was
did
me.
that too?
Yeah. You had to brush dry on fast Sunday. Dry.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
In fact, just saying that, I got to take a big old drink of water because can you think about toothpaste without water in your mouth? Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my.
Yeah. Because heaven forbid one drip of water should go down my throat when I'm like 8. I mean, no,
Oh
nope. I know.
wow.
I know.
This is Pharisees and Sadducees when
Yes.
you're saying if a drop of water goes down your
Yeah.
throat, that's inappropriate and you've broken the fast. In fact, I would brush my teeth then and then say, I broke the fast. I might as well not fast anymore. Lost a little bit of that. I guess personal hygiene goes out the window on fast Sunday
Yep.
is the
That's it.
rule. So,
I'm happy to say though, I don't feel like people fast that way anymore. I mean, when I would teach primary, I'd kind of talk to the kids, you guys fast at your house? Oh, it wasn't like when I was a kid where we were fasting really, really young and for long periods of
yeah.
time. So I feel like there's moderation now, more the spirit of the fast, which is how it should be, I think so.
And a lot better breath now. So,
And a lot, yeah, that fast Sunday breath, I always wanted to invent something called the sacrament, kind of like an Altoid, can I offer you a sacrament? Because frankly, because then you have that bread and tiny bit of water and nothing else. And just that collective odor in the chapel. And then it just clings to the scratchy fabric and stays for, I don't know, 100 years.
I
Oh,
think my
goodness.
mom let us have like you could have a Tic Tac or something like that
Yeah.
on Fast Sunday because
Yeah.
you weren't eating it, it was just a mint. So
That's a kinder, gentler way to fast, I feel. Okay. Number 9, I was so Mormon that my mom said my wedding night lingerie had to cover my garment.
oh,
There's a
whew,
lovely
I bet her
picture.
husband was thrilled.
Woo! Do you know what though? He probably was though, because he's also conditioned to expect that kind of, clothes. They don't
Uh,
know that there's anything else out there.
I don't know any guy who's conditioned to appreciate that. He'd probably be going, "Why don't we get back in our swimsuits?"
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily, I think those days are over too. I think people understand that there's a time and a place for fun lingerie and definitely strengthens a marriage and relationship. So, but yeah, this person, her mom told her, this is great. Read this one.
I was so Mormon, my fam called coffee cake hot chocolate cake.
Yep.
Well, there you have it. Maybe they made it with hot chocolate.
No, my family was the same. I not only could I not say coffee table, I couldn't say coffee cake.
Yeah, I think the word of wisdom just says not to drink hot drinks.
Yeah.
I don't think it says you can't say the word.
No, it just morphed into that. It's one-upmanship, it's scrupulosity. It
Yeah.
just morphed into that. Your neighbor has coffee cake. For me in my house, we will not say coffee cake. We will say that cake that starts with C. Something like that. However, I love coffee cake. So seeing that picture, I'm like, might have to go out and get a piece after this. So, okay, let's go on to number 11. These are so fun, yet so, number 11, I was so Mormon in the days before the internet, I typed out the entire Book of Mormon on my computer so that I could prove that Joseph Smith could not have written it by identifying word patterns. Spoiler alert, he made it all up. So here's a very dedicated individual. He wanted to kind of synthesize the data, look for patterns in the words, like a lot of people, apologists and post-Mormons do now, but we have the aid of AI and all kinds of things. This guy typed out the whole thing himself, right? And tried to look for evidences.
Wonder if he was able to do it in under 40 days.
It's a question that would be inspiring. I thought that picture I found was really good. He's like, God damn it, I will type out the Book of Mormon. Look at his face. His wife's like, honey, what are you doing? Never mind.
You got to get it down. That's okay. Number 12. I was so Mormon, I went on dates to do baptisms for the dead.
Did you?
I know a lot of people who did that. No, I didn't go on dates. No one would go out with me, so it wasn't.
That is not true. I know Landon's story on dating, and he was like, I am going to go on a mission. Why go on a date? Because I'll just get involved and it'll be a problem, and I need to go. You were just on the straight and narrow. You were a really good guy. So my question is,
mine's even worse than this. I didn't go on dates. I was so Mormon, I wouldn't go on dates.
Actually, that is pretty bad. You're right. Although my question, because back in the day, do you remember how maybe a guy wouldn't notice this, but for a girl, those baptismal outfits were so see-through in the late 70s and 80s. Like,
did you hear what you just said? What? Maybe a guy wouldn't notice this. Of course, a guy would have noticed.
No. I mean, a guy wouldn't notice about his own baptismal outfit. He wouldn't go, oh my God. No, but the girls, we were like, yeah, I think they've changed the fabric now. But back then, along with the ponchos open on the side for initiatory, those baptismal outfits were very see-through. So, and yes, you're right. The guys, I think, did notice. So yeah, I never was asked on a date to do baptism. So that never happened to me.
Yeah, I can see that. And that would explain why you would take her on a, hey, where'd you go? We did baptisms for the dead. Wink, wink.
Yeah, wink, wink. A whole bunch of them. Like she was drenched. Yeah. Here's a good one. My family, all the other rules they followed, this is not one that they did. Number 13, I was so Mormon that my parents wouldn't let us eat chocolate because I had caffeine in it. I do know people that way. Thank God my family saw reason. We could eat chocolate.
Wow, that causes a problem for the hot chocolate cake. You can't call it hot chocolate either now because it's got caffeine.
Nope, it's just cake, just plain old cake.
That's right.
Yeah, that would be sad. But I know people think chocolate, and again, the whole caffeine thing, that is all fabricated, but nobody knew the why of coffee. And so they kind of said, caffeine, okay. And then everybody spun it. Well, what else has caffeine? Now, of course, they're saying we never said that. That was never a thing. It was a thing. It was a very real thing.
Well, they caffeine pulled Coke and caffeine drinks off of BYU, so it certainly was a thing.
Yeah, well, now they have them there. When I worked at BYU, I had my own refrigerator under my desk so that because I couldn't put Diet Coke into the refrigerator in the lunchroom. You couldn't do that. But I kept it a little stash under my desk. And a lot of people, we all knew where it was. So but yeah, it was a thing. And now all of a sudden there are Coke machines on every floor of the library, or at least one of the floors I noticed. So that's crazy. Times are a-changing. All right. Let's see. I was so Mormon, I chose to pay tithing over personal bills. This is another rough one. When you talk about finances, you can get pretty angry. But yeah, I know people that do that. And why? Because it's been said from the pulpit, hasn't it, Landon?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they tell you to do that, which I always thought was dishonest because a personal bill, you've made the agreement that you would pay the person or the company for the service they provided you. So when you're paying tithing over personal bills, you're choosing to rip off the person that you owed the money to in order to pay God. And I don't know that God would want that, but I guess you have to make those decisions.
Yep. Again, it's just kind of scrupulosity and holier than thou. There was another post this week about a person who worked for a company that invoiced a ward for a service, right? Yeah. Something that the ward was supposed to pay. And they sent the invoice out. And then they were contacted by the bishop of the ward. And he goes, oh, we're just, we don't have a budget and we're just poor and we're a nonprofit. Can we just not pay it? And this company's like, what are you talking about? we provided a service to, So they definitely laid down the law and said, no, you have to pay this. And I think then the ward is going to pay. But the knee-jerk reaction is, well, can't you just let it slide because we're a church?
Yeah.
No.
We only have $100 billion. Yeah. Can't you suck this up? Because because our $100 billion corporation did not give us more than $250 for a budget this year.
Exactly, for the whole ward. And I think people run into that trouble too in the ward. Oh, you're a roofer? Can you go over and roof so and
Oh
so's
yeah, that
entire,
happens all the
or oh,
time.
you have this skill. Can you please do this for free? That happens all the time. And I know people are willing to help and they're happy to help. But when it's your livelihood and it's your occupation, I think there's a limit and there's taking advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, your turn, number 15.
I was so Mormon, my friend and I would voice concerns to the leaders at church dances when they played certain songs. Oh, yes, we all seen these people at the church dances.
Yeah. No, and I really have because my spouse used to DJ stake dances. And, 20 years ago, I would go along and we'd man the DJ table together. And sometimes it was the leaders that would come up and we would choose radio edit versions. That means the swear words are taken out, it's replaced or something. We would choose radio edits. It wasn't so much the leaders, but it was the kids themselves that would come over. And I once had an argument with a young man because he goes, that song is about sex. And I can't remember what song it was. And the word was dancing. I'm dancing, it was kind of a metaphor. And I go, no, it's not. It's about dancing. He's like, no, it's not. It's about sex. I said, the song is clearly about dancing. Look up the lyrics. No, it's about sex. And I said, I think actually that's probably in your mind. You need to go check yourself. I mean, typically I wouldn't argue, but this kid was just bugging the crap out of me that he was arguing with adults, and he was so rigid in his thinking, and then I thought, how sad, how sad that there's a dance going on. Most of us never paid attention to lyrics when we were growing up. You just dance and you enjoy the music. But this kid had his little lyric thing out on his phone to check the lyrics. And he was very upset, wasn't enjoying the dance at all. So that's scrupulosity, though.
I'm guessing a kid like that, nobody wanted to dance with a kid like that. So he had nothing better to do than
Maybe
to check his phone. Yeah.
Yeah. I will tell you the two songs that leaders got really, really upset in our history of doing youth conferences and stake dances. One, and these are old songs that were played when I was attending stake dances. That's what's so funny. One was Shook You All Night Long, right? They came in and they said, this is totally inappropriate. Shut this down, and we're like, the song is like 30 years old. And the other one was Thriller. The state president came jumping over the DJ table and said, this is about the occult. You pull the plug right now. And Thriller is a huge crowd pleaser. That's just a fun song from when we were young going to dances. So it just depends. You can see bad wherever you want to look for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's funny. I love this. It's kind of like a confessional for people. This is what I did. Okay. I was so Mormon that whenever my family went on vacation, we had to attend church, no exceptions. And even if we had to drive an hour or more, that is one of mine. Yes. I don't know if any of the rest of you were like this, but sure, let's go find a branch in Nebraska that has 10 people in it. And you have to go to all 3 hours and you drove 2 hours to get there. Yeah. Could not miss. Not one Sunday.
This we did not do. When we went on vacation, it was like a vacation from church. So
yeah. No, I was a really shy kid, and this used to terrify me to walk into a ward or a branch where there weren't very many people and I didn't know anybody and have to go into a strange primary. I mean, I think it really it was not great for my shyness or my anxiety when I was a kid, but how do you tell your parents that? So I remember one time I showed up at a branch and it was in Nebraska. They were having a primary program and my parents go, oh, you know those songs, go up there.
Oh.
And I'm like, yeah, no, I mean, to this day, that is one of the more traumatic moments of my life. I
can see that'd be horrible.
Terrified.
You don't know when to stand up or what the.
Yeah, exactly. Hadn't rehearsed, don't know how to. Yeah. So don't ever do that to your kids, guys. Seriously, I'm still processing and I'm 59. All right. What's our next one? Oh, this is a good one. Read this one.
I was so Mormon that as a teen, when I read in a church magazine that we are not supposed to watch R-rated movies, I went through my parents' entire collection of VHS tapes and made them get rid of all the bad movies. Oh, I'm looking at some of these, and it's very hard to do a war movie without making it rated R or
Glory, right? That was the big one. It's rated R, but it's so good.
And remember Passion of the Christ?
Yes.
I've never seen it because we couldn't see an R-rated show.
Jesus's
So,
life is too R-rated for you
yeah.
to be able to think about. But you know what this says to me too is that Mormon kids, they're very forthright and they have no problem telling an adult, you're not supposed to drink coffee. If you see somebody on a sidewalk with coffee, I mean, this happens
Yeah.
all the time. Little kids, they'll come up and say, you're not supposed to do that. Jesus said, don't do that. Mom and dad, get rid of all those. They don't have boundaries.
I used to go to the neighbors so I could watch R-rated shows because we couldn't watch them. I can just picture these people's parents calling up the neighbor. Can we come
Yeah.
over and watch a couple?
We watch Gremlins.
Yes. Our daughter threw away all our movies.
Found it. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what it's like living with somebody who's like doing the home MTC part of the mission before they go. You're like,
yeah,
gotta hide your coffee table, your coffee cake, and your R-rated movies all at once.
that's right.
That's it. Okay, number 18. I was so Mormon that my wife and I once refused to eat popsicles that my father-in-law bought us from an ice cream truck because it was Sunday.
Oh,
yeah.
and
There are so many examples of that, right? For me in my house, we will not eat the popsicle, And again, I don't know if the father-in-law was LDS or not, or just had a different, more relaxed view, but you don't need to embarrass someone like that. Thank you for the popsicle. That's great.
They're not going to make it till Monday. That's for sure.
They're not going to do it. But again, I think, you have to wear your religion, on your sleeve, like armor, and it goes the opposite way too, where you don't want to let, say, very, very faithful relatives know, that you might be living a different lifestyle. I remember one time my parents were staying with me. It was fast Sunday. I was trying to make French toast. I was out of bread and eggs, and I just went to the store. But when I came home, I took them out of the bag and I said, oh my gosh, my neighbors, they were so kind. They gave me this entire dozen eggs and this loaf of bread. My neighbors are, I did. I had to protect their sensibilities. They would have had a stroke, had they known that I'd gone to the store.
But you had the opposite too, where people would, when they find out that you're willing to shop on Sunday, they'd say, oh, can you go get this for me? Because they weren't willing to go get it.
Yep. I had a missionary that would ask me to order pizza and stuff for him on Sunday, because I would do it and I would pay for it. I'm willing to be that kind of sinner. Call me. If anyone needs anything on Sunday, I'm here.
Yeah. And is that a sin or not? You fed the missionaries,
but
it was on a Sunday. So that cancels each other out, and it's no sin. That's
I think so too.
Offsetting penalties there.
We used to have like a neighborhood kind of email group, and on Sundays people would always be on it. Oh, does anybody have any green Jello? And I always wanted to write back, oh no, but I'm heading to Walmart. I'd be happy to pick it up, because I guarantee they'd go, no, do not shop for me, right? Do not shop for me. Oh gosh. Okay.
Only in Utah.
All right. Why don't you read this one? Oh, this is me. And I've told the story a million times, but I had to include it because it's Christmassy.
Rebecca was so Mormon, her parents made her take her tithing jar with her to open presents on Christmas morning in case she got cash. Her mom then made change.
I've told this story many times. It's very traumatic because, a little kid, $1, some, like $10 bill. That's amazing. Not so amazing when it's only $5 and 4 ones.
That's when you're going, oh, I hope I just get a doll instead of cash, because I get to keep the whole doll. I don't have to give 10% of the doll into the jar.
Exactly. And now, thank God for Venmo, right? You can't take my tithing out. Yep. Again, all these people, though, all these parents that were raising us this way, other parents were doing it and they had validation from church. They were getting these messages. They may have been taking them too far, but they were somehow getting these ideas.
Yep.
Yep.
I know where they were getting them.
Yeah, I know exactly. Number 20, I was so Mormon that I stayed in my church clothes, a dress, the entire day on Sunday, so I wouldn't forget it was Sunday, and my family did that too. A lot of families did do that.
A lot of families I know did that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. All Sunday long to be respectful.
Oh, God bless them.
God bless us, everyone. That's right. Oh, dear. Okay, you get to read this one, Landon.
I was so Mormon, I prayed with my wife before sex on our wedding night. Well, of course, that was to invite Jesus into the group.
It's always a threesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always a threesome with Jesus. You seen that picture on Facebook where It's got the bed and the people's feet are sticking out, and there's 6 feet sticking out, and two of them have
And two of them, yeah,
have
I
the
do see
holes in
that.
them. So,
I'm sure that's not what they meant, but there is an awful lot of literature in the church where it says, bring Jesus into your relationship, bring Jesus into the bedroom. I mean, I know they mean well to say it, but I just don't
they
know
were
that
probably
works.
wearing the lingerie that covered the garments at the same time.
I
So,
feel like they probably were. Yep.
yeah.
Again, that's very personal, but I'm just curious if anyone else did that and has second thoughts later on. I don't know. Oh dear. All right. 22. This is my family too. I mean, this is not mine, but I can relate to this. 22. I was so Mormon that we didn't use extracts like vanilla extract because they had some alcohol in them. Yep, absolutely. And certainly no, cooking with wine or anything like that. That never.
Yeah, a vanilla getting drunk on vanilla is really embarrassing. Yeah.
Have you tried it, Landon?
No, I always tried the NyQuil. That was a little
Oh,
more. Yeah. I was so Mormon that when I found boxes and boxes of old Ensign's New Era and Improvement Era magazines at my grandmom's, I decided to read all of them. Who wouldn't want decades worth of instruction from God?
ooh.
I had a similar experience on my mission, except it was Playboys. We
What?
we went to help this family move. We were supposed to go help them move. They were members, and they said go in there and empty off that bookshelf. And I go in there, and they're like, it's all Playboy magazines. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Do
Well,
I
you
go
know
out
what
and
you're
say,
supposed to
these
do
are
with that?
Playboys, I can't move them, or do I just put them in the box and act like?
Don't look, don't
Oh,
look,
I'm like,
don't look.
yeah, they are Playboys.
Only the articles. I know you were reading them for the
Yeah, it was
articles.
only the
Well, like
articles.
seriously, what did you do though? You just put them in a box and send them with
I
the
put them in the
family? I
box
mean,
and moved them where they wanted them moved. I'm like, I'm not gonna broach this.
that is so funny. I had a friend who found a box of Playboys in a field. Maybe it was your box. I don't know. But he was very, religious, rigid. He was not going to look at those, but he grabbed the box and he sold them to his friends, like a couple dollars for each one. So he was very entrepreneurial about it, and he did not view any of the magazines.
Probably to help pay for his mission.
I actually feel like it could have made a pay for his mission. Well, that's a great story. I just can't believe that the members wouldn't have all of a sudden gone, "Oh my God, did you send the missionaries into the bedroom? Oh my God."
I know. Well, it might have been like the grandpa's collection or
Okay,
something
then that
that
makes
lived with them
sense.
or something, but it
Because
was
back in the
still,
day, like
yeah.
Playboys they were just there, they were at 7-Eleven, they were stacked up on the floor at the fire station. It
Yeah,
wasn't
but when
such a
you're a
big deal.
19-year-old
Yeah.
LDS kid,
Yeah.
that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I could see that it is. Wow, that's amazing. Okay. 24. I was so Mormon that we couldn't even have caffeine-free Dr. Pepper to avoid the very appearance of evil. That was my family too.
You couldn't
Anything,
even
yeah, it
do the
doesn't matter.
caffeine free?
What?
You couldn't even do caffeine free?
No, no, because Dr. Pepper was an evil drink because, it was promoted as having caffeine and it was just on the
Wow.
dark side. Yeah, you couldn't do that.
Okay.
Could not do that.
I was so Mormon, I had conditioned myself to hate the smell of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. My grandpa drank coffee, and I remember whenever I'd go camping with him, I'd wake up to the smell of coffee, and I'd always go, that smells so good. And I hate the taste of coffee, but the smell of coffee was always great in the morning.
You loved it. I feel that way too. When we'd go on vacation and we'd go out to eat to little diners or something out of the way in the Midwest, I'd always go, what does that smell? It just smells so homey. And it was coffee. Yeah. And I used to walk down the aisles of the grocery store when I was younger. And, when you'd find the coffee aisle with the beans, that you could pour into a bag. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But I also have friends that have told me, embarrassed that they've said things like, oh my gosh, don't, if they're around a cup of coffee, I'm going to throw up. I'm nauseated, completely conditioned, right? Completely conditioned when it comes to that.
In the 70s, you always liked the people who drink coffee because you got those big coffee cans that you stored everything in. All your hardware in the garage was always in a coffee can. Yep. And golf balls, you'd put it in a coffee can. Everything. we'd use the coffee can as a bathroom when we went on my grandpa's boat. I mean, you could
Okay.
use a coffee can for anything.
How did you get these coffee cans if your family was LDS?
Oh, my grandpa drank coffee, so yeah, we'd get
Oh,
them from him. Yeah, we had everything in coffee cans.
because we had cans of a similar size because they were very useful, but they were mashed potato flake cans from the cannery. Yes, from the cannery.
Well, you
Exactly.
do with what you have to do, I guess.
Now those make me nauseated. Oh my
Yeah.
God, mashed potato flakes. All right. Oh, there you go. You're getting all the financial ones, Landon. They're making you weak. I can tell.
This one was your parents here. I was
Yeah,
so
they did
Mormon,
that.
I
True.
paid extra tithing.
Yep.
So, because you want those extra blessings.
And that's it. And you know what? There are talks where they say pay tithing on what you hope your salary will be or your income will be. You want to be a millionaire? Pay $1 million worth of tithing. And that's just pure prosperity gospel right there. That's all that is.
Well, I was so Mormon that I didn't pay tithing on my what they call that in the church that they did on my interest from tithing. I
Your
didn't pay
interest.
tithing on my
Yes.
interest from tithing because Mormons don't do that. Neither does the church.
No, that's right. They don't either. So yeah, tithing's a hot button. And that's a huge regret, I think, for a lot of it. So 27, we were so Mormon, we told the neighbor kids we couldn't be friends since their parents were voting for Clinton.
Now that is Mormon. That's true.
Yep. No, that is true. And this will date me. When I was in 5th grade, it was Jimmy Carter running for the presidency.
Yep.
And my parents were like, they knew that my 5th grade teacher was a huge, promoter of Carter. And they sat me down and said, no matter what she says, you do not listen. You just kind of don't pay attention if she starts talking politics or talking about that Jimmy Carter. And I was like, what? I never understood till later. It was the Mormon Republican thing.
And can you think of a kinder, gentler man than
I
Jimmy
know.
Carter? I mean,
he was the devil. I mean, that's what my
he
parents
wanted to give money to the poor. He wants to raise Social Security and give people more.
No, and I kept saying he's just a peanut farmer. And I later found out he's has a degree in astrophysics or something. I mean, it's like, he's like this highly educated. Anyway, I just remember that. This reminded me of that so much, who you're voting for and can't be friends with you. So good. All right.
Is that yours?
No, it's yours.
Oh, I was so Mormon one time while I was visiting California, my auntie invited me to go to Disneyland on a Sunday. I said no and went to church instead.
Yep.
Yeah, I
bet everyone has an example like that.
Yeah, a lot of people would not do that. When we went on vacations, we did not have to go to church, but we did have to choose more Sabbath appropriate activities. So like if we went to California, we would not go to Disneyland on a Sunday. We would go to the beach where you didn't have to pay and you could, have a lunch out at the beach or whatever. So
right. Nobody had to work to like open and shut the ride or anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Even though they were already there. So
yep. Even though they were already there. All right. We're just making great progress through this. Oh, okay. This is one of mine. That's not a picture of me. That's pretty much what I looked like. You can picture it. Back when I used to wear my reading glasses on my actual face, not on my head. 29, I was so Mormon that I was the primary pianist at age 11. And that was when you had midweek primary on Wednesday. And I think I was actually technically 10 and a half when I started. But yeah, I was up there the one as a primary pianist when I was just a little kid.
Wow. So they didn't have an adult playing? You were really? Wow.
I was the one. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? And it's when you went, this is in the 2 hours of church in the morning, go back in the evening for church. And then your primary would be midweek. In our case, it was on a Wednesday.
I remember that. And I remember they brought sacrament into primary. And I
in the morning.
That was on Sunday.
In the morning. It was in Sunday school.
In Sunday school.
And then you'd have it again at night.
Yeah.
There was a lot of sacrament going around. Yeah. And it was like 2 hours in the morning and in an hour and a half at night. It was a lot of church. But then the gas crisis, right? And a revelation. You can't be driving back and forth. It's too hard. We're running out of gas. So
and that gas crisis came as a result of Jimmy Carter. So those who voted for Jimmy Carter saved themselves a couple hours of church.
And then the 3-hour block was like, I think it was like 32 years, 38 years. I added it up when it first happened because I'm like, I survived the 3-hour block. But I mean, it was 3 decades, more than 3 decades.
Yeah.
So, and now I'm hearing rumors of 1 hour church. Does that make you mad?
Oh, yes, yes.
Some people have, a lot of people are saying, I've got relatives in pilot programs, but there's a lot of them saying this. I kind of feel like there might be truth to it. So, and the idea is that you go, what they want to do is get rid of sacrament meeting talks, because that's a loose cannon, open mic, right? Yeah. So you go for announcements, sacrament, and then song, announcement, sacrament, song, little break, and then a Sunday school class where you study a conference talk, and that's it, 1 hour. That would be amazing.
They do a conference talk, then you're not getting the weird historical stuff presented.
That's what I'm saying. And not only that, but they have study guides in the church news now for each conference talk. So it's not just your teacher's interpretation of the talk. It is a guided study of the talk.
I get it.
It is. All right. You can read this one.
I was so Mormon, I went to the temple on my honeymoon. Oh, man. I don't think I even wanted to get out of bed on my honeymoon, let alone go to the temple. That would, in fact, you just fall asleep because you weren't sleeping anyway. So,
yeah. No, but I know a lot. I bet there are people in the chat going, yeah, I get that. I remember attending, it was the first roommate of mine that ever got married. So it was very exciting, someone our age getting married, and a couple other roommates that I took a bus. It was up in Seattle area. We couldn't go to the wedding because none of us had been on missions and we weren't endowed, but we waited outside the temple, the reception, all of that. And they weren't flying out. This was on a Saturday, the whole wedding, everything happening. They weren't flying out till Monday morning, but they were going to a hotel in the area, for their wedding night. And the next morning, we all roommates went to her ward. It was a stake conference. And we were stunned when we walked in to that building at 10 a.m. and who was sitting a couple rows up? The newly married couple, married Saturday, reception Saturday night, stayed in a hotel at their stake conference that morning. And I'm telling you, it was so awkward because everyone there had been to their reception and you're looking at them going, wow, I wonder, you just do, right? It's their first little experience. But I thought, and I remember thinking, I don't think I would do that. And then I thought, do you have to do that? I just couldn't believe that's what you had to do.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's dedication or something. I don't know.
Dedication. I'm telling you, church broke. Yeah. To the extreme. Yeah. All right. 31. I was so Mormon. I never studied on the Sabbath all the way through law school. This is a big one. And I remember this was the big lesson my dad always told me is that he started college when he was 16. He was very studious, went all the way, got his doctorate, but he did study on Sunday, like a little bit at first. And then he sort of had this epiphany. If I don't study on Sunday, God is going to bless me with my grades. And he never did all the way through, up through his doctorate.
I don't think I want that guy as my lawyer.
Yeah, well, no, you think about that, huh? And I just remember I would have to kind of hide studying when I was in high school and junior high, because I had to, you leave things, you put things off, and then it's Sunday night, crap, I got to write that paper. I had to do it, so I would kind of hide it, not let my parents see I was trying to do it.
Well, there you have it.
Yep. Oh, here's a good one. This is mine. You can read it. You can put my name in it.
Rebecca was so Mormon, she dressed as a pioneer from the Willie Martin Handcart Company for Halloween. If Halloween was on Sunday, you could not trick or treat. I've seen pictures of your pioneer dress. Yeah.
I know. And I was dead. I was like a zombie. I had kind of a white face and a pioneer outfit. Yeah, because, Willie Martin. Yeah, the church was everything to my family. I wonder if a lot of you wore costumes that were church centered, a Nephite, a Lamanite, a prophet. I've seen these kids in these costumes and I was that kid. So
everyone's like, who are you?
Yeah, I'm a pioneer from the Willie Martin Handcart Company. Okay, we knew you were really weird and not popular, but now we really are going to shun you.
And since you were only allowed to trick or treat at members' houses, everyone then knew what you were. So
yeah. Oh, of course. When I went to the members' houses, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're so cute, Willie Martin handcarts." Okay, number 33. I was so Mormon, I scolded my new wife and her mother for planting flowers on the Sabbath. And again, that just speaks to you just have this moral high ground where you feel you can just tell I will not eat that popsicle. Do not plant flower. Who are you to do any of that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I was so Mormon, we turned the chairs at our table around so we would remember to kneel down for the blessing on the food. I also had a prayer rock under my pillow to hit my head on and remember to pray. Now, I've heard of the prayer rock, turning your chair around so that you'd remember to kneel down. That's everyone comes over to your house and all your chairs are turned out.
Yeah, this one's mine too. That's exactly right. Yep, the chairs are facing out. So you can't sit down without kneeling down to say the blessing on the food, and then you can turn your chair around.
Wow.
And the prayer rock was a giant rock that you put under your pillow. So when you flopped into bed, you gave yourself a concussion, and then you remembered to pray.
Pray, yeah.
Yeah.
Ere you hit your head this morning.
Ere you hit your head this morning. That is really good. Culch, come on, make us a song. Here we go. All right. 35, I was so Mormon. I woke up at 5 a.m. for early morning seminary. I was not allowed to participate in extracurricular activities at school because of it. I think a lot of people can relate to that. I can.
Yeah, or you didn't want to do extracurricular activities.
Yeah, you're tired.
Because you had to be up at 5 a.m. every morning. Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly it. I think my senior, junior, and senior year, I finally had release time. But prior to that, it was early morning. And when I go back and read my journals, because I kept these copious journals, the first line is always, I was so tired today. I was so tired. I could hardly keep my eyes open. Every day, I'm just exhausted.
I was so Mormon that my Mormon mom would try to discourage me from playing with other kids in the neighborhood just because they weren't Mormons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've all heard stories of that.
Yeah, and there have been some interesting news articles lately about that, in the Tribune especially, trying to understand that dynamic and does that still happen and why? And it is, and in fact, President Oaks at the Christmas devotional gave a talk on this. You remember, Landon? Yeah. You kind of parsed that out a little bit because there were some headlines that said Elder Oaks chastises LDS parents for this exact thing, but it wasn't exactly like that, was it?
Yeah, he didn't so much chastise him as he said, basically he said non-Mormons may feel like they are being targeted, and I hope our people aren't like that. But he didn't say our people are doing this. He said non-members feel like that's happening to them.
So maybe misunderstood. Yeah. So they kind of addressed it, but in a weird gaslighty way a little bit. So, but I know all of us have examples of this either happening to them or, knowing somebody that did. Number 37, I was so Mormon. Oh my gosh. At BYU, I audited extra religion classes each semester in addition to the required ones. I just couldn't get enough. This is crazy because I don't know if people realize at BYU, you have to take a whole semester's worth of religion classes. You have to take like 15 or 16 religion credits. So that's a lot. That's a whole semester of your work. And, that stuff doesn't transfer if you get kicked out and go somewhere else. And so this person is saying, in addition to that, they also audited some of the religion classes available.
Well, God bless them on that one too.
You're just kind of digressed into just saying, God bless everybody, haven't you, Landon? Yes. This is making you so weak.
Yeah. I mean, I can see if you were really into the church and that's what you want to do. Okay. But yeah. So, I was so Mormon that I walked away from a full ride scholarship because I interpreted nausea as God telling me to move home. Yes. I can see that. You feel, I didn't feel good about it. Therefore I made this decision. I know God will bless me for it. I wonder where this was at, the full ride scholarship. And I'm wondering if there's more story behind this. Was it they experienced something that they saw something that was against their LDS upbringing, and so they didn't feel comfortable about it, and so they came home because they didn't want to be in that environment, it could be,
or it was just hard. Something was difficult, and then you kind of convince yourself, oh yeah, God doesn't want me to do it, so that's okay. It's your brain kind of telling you, making it easy for you. But that's sad. How many people do make decisions based on just intrusive thoughts that pop into your head that mean nothing? You have thousands a day, unless you're watching for them and thinking, is it Satan? Is it God? Second guessing your own intuition, or just taking everything too seriously and making these kinds of decisions, or not taking advantage of opportunities. So yeah, this one kind of made me sad. All right. I was so Mormon, I didn't do laundry on Sunday. Looking back, how ridiculous that God would be upset by me breaking the Sabbath by doing laundry. Stupid. No, I was raised that way. You could not do laundry on Sunday. When I became college age and started coming home, you have to do freaking laundry. I did laundry. I didn't ask permission. I just did it. But yeah, growing up, I knew that you wash everything all week. If you're out of luck, if you needed something on Sunday.
Of course, you could shovel all the walks in the neighborhood when it snowed on Sunday. You could shovel the walks at church on Sunday, but yeah, you couldn't throw a couple things in a washing machine that was doing all the work.
Yeah, and that has to do with work, I think. And I've heard different degrees of that. Like some people would not cook on Sunday. They would prepare everything ahead of time and then just have cold meals on Sunday, because that's you working, personally in your home. I think laundry kind of studying, those things are all, kind of work related. I think maybe that's where that came from.
And the sad part is you think about all the people who have to work on Sunday just so you can go to church, You've got to have police officers, you've got to have medical personnel who take care of the people in the hospital. I know that the pilots have to fly because the general authorities travel on Sundays on the airlines, so they can be home on Monday for their family day off or whatever. To have power on at the church, somebody's working at the electric company, someone's working at the gas company so that you can attend a warm building. I mean, everyone's working so that you can do this, but you throw some laundry in it. Yeah, but if it's a white shirt, it's probably okay to throw it in.
Maybe. Well, but I know people that take this very seriously, and it is scrupulosity. My parents were like that. And as they got older, it got more intense. And one time they needed a light bulb change. This is when they were living by themselves. And, it was too high up to reach. And extended family made arrangements for missionaries in the area to come over and help them change the light bulb, missionaries serving the ward. And the missionaries came over on Sunday, and my parents would not let them change it because it was Sunday, So it does get to a point where it's kind of heartbreaking, because that I don't think is what was intended. That's, like you say, the Pharisees,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Is it mine or yours? I've lost track.
It's mine. I was so Mormon that I didn't taste Coca-Cola until I was 22.
Yeah, wow. I've had a lot of people are in that boat. When did you first taste the devil's drink, Landon?
Oh, I would have been drinking it since I ever could remember. So
really, did your family just drink?
Yeah, I mean, we could have cola and stuff. Yeah, cola was not. We never looked at cola as a word of wisdom issue. Huh. We were never those people. So.
And you were raised in Utah. That's interesting to me that you had that more relaxed point of view.
Yeah, we weren't these orthodox ultra read everything into everything. I had a pretty normal family. So.
Yeah, I finally started drinking, those kinds of sodas when I was in junior high and had access to friends that were older that had cars, and could go buy things like that. So and I remember one time I decided, my friends and I, we were actually going to sin on Sunday. We're going to go buy some Diet Coke at Fred Meyer's on Sunday, like the worst thing you could ever imagine doing. And when we got there and we went down the soda aisle, we saw our seminary teacher there buying a giant, like 24 pack of Coke. And it just kind of took the wind out of our sails. We're like, well, gosh.
Yeah. And we could work on Sunday. My parents,
really?
We had a job that we had to work. Well, my dad was an air traffic controller. He had to work on Sunday. Yeah. So,
thank God, right? Should those guys not work?
Yeah. You want nobody controlling the planes flying over your church. Yep. So, yeah.
Wow. All right. Okay. This is mine, and this is true. Number 41. I was so Mormon. I told my 6th grade choir teacher I couldn't sing Jesus Christ Superstar, and I plugged my ears while the rest of the choir sang it. We were working it up for a concert, and I couldn't sing it.
Wow. I have seen that. I was told, I always heard the song Jesus Christ Superstar, and then I found out it was like a play,
Yeah.
a musical, and I'm like, why wouldn't we go to that? But we were not allowed to go to it.
Mm-mm.
So
Yeah. No, I just remember sitting there again, the weird, nerdy, plug in my ears. I couldn't hear the word Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. Couldn't, Now the kids are like, wasn't she the one in that weird zombie Halloween pioneer costume? Yeah, exactly.
what you couldn't call him, you had to call him what, our Lord,
Yeah, the Savior.
the Savior. You
Yeah, I
should have
couldn't
said
even
the
say Jesus Christ.
Savior,
Yeah,
superstar.
superstar, the Savior. Again, how did any of us survive? I'm telling you. All right, read this one.
I was so Mormon, I kept a photo of the first presidency on my dresser. I know a lot of people who either have it hanging in their house or somewhere where they can see it all the time.
That is
I
so funny. I've told this before, but I remember moving into an apartment at BYU. You switch like every year, and people were already living there, and I was, had one room in the back. And I remember going into the bathroom, and that picture of Jesus with his arms outstretched, kind of in purple colors, it was hanging right over the toilet.
where it should be,
Where it should be. Peace.
Some people it's a toilet, other people it's a font,
I just remember thinking, there's a time and a place. Come on. We
Yeah,
do not need a
that
picture
is
of the
not where I
Savior.
want Jesus looking over me and
That's what
reminding
I
me
think.
that.
Well, and we do hear, and we've seen pictures of people that put pictures of Jesus and church sayings in the shower.
Yeah.
And that's for a different reason, or on the bathroom wall, right? And that is next level. Okay, number 43. I'm so Mormon that the F word in our house growing up was fart, and we couldn't say it.
We were highly discouraged from using that too. We had to call it, something else. So
Yeah. Yeah, all those Mormon made up words are so funny.
Yeah.
Frick, fetch, fiddle, frack, flip. We did an episode a while ago on swear words, and those are just, your brain treats them the same way. If you assign that meaning to them and you say them with that kind of power, it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
All right. This one is mine. I'll let you read it, Landon.
Okay. My son's soccer coaches were bishops and were so Mormon that at any away tournament, they let us know if we made it to the finals on Sunday, their sons on the team couldn't play. We made it to the tournament and their son sat on the side and cheered. All the boys on the team got up early before the tournament to go to church.
What do you think about that, Landon?
Why go to a tournament if you're not willing to play on the days of the tournament?
Yep.
You shouldn't be playing in that tournament then.
Yep. No, and it's that whole thing of letting the entire team down, right? Two players, two pivotal coaches' sons, right? We all know coaches' sons, two pivotal players sitting there on the side. Go, you guys, you can do it. I know I'm supposed to be over there left wing, but you can do it. It's just like it blows your mind.
And what are the other boys on the team supposed to do with that? It's like, well, we can't play because we're obeying the Lord.
Like, yeah, but you guys.
So yeah.
Isn't that funny? We talked to a friend of ours, Landon and I had dinner with him, who was a bishop when he was a coach. You remember that conversation? And he talked about how he would, you're going, what? Just 2 weeks ago, remember? And he was a coach, and he would let him know, I'm going to be gone. Yes, I'm going to be gone coaching on Sunday because that's what I do. I'm a coach. It's like my job. I'm not going to let people down. And the state president had to understand, I'm just going to be gone. I'm coaching my team. Yeah. And he took it that seriously.
Yeah, and if you're going to commit to that, you gotta be all in. And people say, well, if you commit to being the bishop, you got to be all in. But I think he was coaching before he was the bishop. So
yes.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's interesting.
I obviously though, if you're NFL level, then go ahead by all means and play whenever you have to, because the church will then exploit you to tell you how you're LDS and utilize you in any way they can.
I know. And I feel like this story could have ended up like in the Friend magazine or something. And even though it was hard to not be with our team, we sat on the bench and did what Jesus wanted, but you never think about the other point of view. All those other kids that put in all that work and their two pivotal players aren't there and they're in a tournament, How
Andy Reid
devastating.
coaches on Sunday. He's
Yep.
the Kansas City Chiefs coach. He's LDS and he coaches every Sunday.
Yeah.
And what do, they get him to get all his guys to go promote the giving machine in Kansas City. I mean,
Yep.
if Andy Reid wasn't out there, they wouldn't have that influence. But they
Yep.
do, and they utilize it when they do. So it seems kind of a two-faced
It is.
position when you say you can't play when you're young, but if you're a pro, then by all means do it, you know.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, we are almost done. I can't believe it. All right, number 45. I was so Mormon, I got married in the temple without my non-Mormon parents, grandparents, or sister there. I had 3 people on my side, and they were all friends I'd known less than 3 years. Yeah,
And
and I hear
probably
that a
never
lot.
talked to since. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear that a lot from people that is a huge
Yeah.
regret how they did major pivotal life ceremony moments, the people that they excluded, and then afterwards they wish it could have been different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really rough one.
I was so Mormon that in my Western history class, I proudly stated that wine wasn't really wine back then. My history professor rightfully gave me the most pitiful stare. Oh, we all heard that. Jesus didn't
Yep.
drink wine. It wasn't really wine. It was grape juice
Yeah.
then. It didn't have alcohol in it.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Keep telling yourself that.
But
They
but
didn't
again,
have refrigeration. That's how they preserved things.
that's right. Everything was fermented. But again, how sure of ourselves were we that what we
Oh,
were learning at church, that was what it was? You have that story about how people got to the Americas. Remember, you're taught one thing at church and then you go to school and you read something. But in your case, you were like, well, wait a minute, this makes more sense, right?
yeah, yeah. You're talking about crossing the land bridge
Uh-huh. Yeah, the
versus
land
coming
bridge. Because,
across on
yeah,
Nephite
instead of a
vessel.
barge.
Yeah. And I know many kids who would say they didn't come across the land bridge, they
Uh-huh.
came across on Nephite barges.
Exactly. So sure.
That's
Right.
what they learned, and they were told that evolution and migration didn't happen, and so that's what they learned, and that's what they said.
Yeah. But you were a little critical thinker, and the book made you think. You're like, well, that kind of makes more sense.
I was confused when I had
Yeah,
that there. So
for sure. Okay. Oh, this is another one of mine. I added more than I thought. I just got carried away. It was so exciting. So, number 47, I was so Mormon that my family had an intervention because I was chewing aspargum to get over a cold. They thought aspirin counted as drugs. So, yes, I've had an intervention where everyone sat down. Rebecca, we can't help but notice that you have been chewing a lot of aspargum. Yeah, because I freaking think I might have mono. Aspargum
were
is
were
a
you
drug.
were you buying that on a corner from your aspargum dealer?
That was it. A guy in a trench coat, and they probably don't even have aspargum anymore. But yeah, I just had a horrible cold that wouldn't go away because I was getting up for freaking early morning seminary, right, and getting about 3 hours of sleep a night.
And you weren't taking any drugs because they
And
were drugs. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we didn't take aspirin or anything like that at my house, normally. But yeah, a friend of mine said, aspargum, chew this, it'll help your sore throat, So I definitely went and got that. But yeah, they definitely talked to me about we don't do that. Don't do drugs. Haven't you heard Nancy Reagan? Just say no.
Just say no.
Oh, here's yours, Landon. This is a good one.
Yeah, this was mine. I was so Mormon that when a really nice, cute Japanese girl asked me to a dance in high school, I turned her down because my parents taught me absolutely no interracial dating or marriage. And I still feel bad about that to this day. And I remember thinking, I can't go to the dance because what happens at the dance? You get pictures and you get dance pictures, and then I'm going to have to show my parents the dance picture. And we were taught by the church no interracial marriage. And I'm reading uh, the book
Second class saints.
Second Class Saints, and it's just making me sick because I'm reading over and over where they pushed and pushed and pushed no interracial marriage, and that's right at the time I was growing up, and my parents taught me that's not right to do that. So just don't date interracial, so you don't marry interracial, and now I'd look back on that and I'm just so mad at those men for making that teaching, because she was a fun girl. I liked her. We laugh and stuff at school, but I was taught you don't do that. So,
Again, life trajectory, right? You never
yep.
know. You just never know for those opportunities that are lost. So, yeah, a little plug for Second Class Saints. If you guys haven't read that, and it is coming out on audio in February. So, if you haven't had a chance to actually read it, get on Audible and listen. It is a pivotal book, and it'll change the way you see everything from those decades, about
Yeah.
everything,
One of the
not
best,
just.
one of the best Mormon history books I've read.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
really good.
Matt Harris. And you know what? I should say this. In the Good Book Club that Landon and I run, we are reading that for our January book, meaning that we've been reading it throughout December. And our meeting is on January 12th, Sunday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. And we are having Matt Harris with us for 2 hours to answer questions on a Zoom meeting. So if anybody is interested in, reading the book, talking to Matt in real time, just shoot either of us a message and we'll send you a link to our virtual book club meeting. So it's going to be amazing. He's incredible. I said, how long do you want to spend with this? Because we'll have authors on and they're like, oh, I can spare an hour. He's like, oh, the whole 2 hours. So he's amazing. And it's going to be quite a discussion.
I know why John DeLynn had like 20 hours of him on, because I could probably go 20 hours asking him questions too. It's a really good book.
Yeah. Well, we've got 2 on January 12th, Sunday. Right. So if anybody's interested, shoot us a message and we'll get you a link to that. Okay. All right. We're almost to the end here. So, here's a good one. 49. I was so Mormon, I asked an Italian restaurant to cook my pasta sauce without the alcohol in it at the sports team dinner. Yeah, all those dietary restrictions and special things. And I always hear stories from missionaries who they'll accidentally eat something, that they weren't supposed to, or, and they just feel so terrible. And I don't know, did you ever have any of those experiences, Landon, in Indiana? The culinary fair of Indiana, was it cooked in wine?
We were fed squirrel and other things. Yeah, we had nothing exotic by any means. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that are cooked in alcohol or beer. Sometimes you'll do a beer taste, and yeah, I mean, obviously you don't want to be drunk playing football the next day after eating your alcohol.
Yeah, the sports team dinner. Yeah, that's true. No, I went to dinner with somebody who it was like a chicken. It was also an Italian dish, and it was kind of a wine and chicken. I don't know if they realized what they ordered, but as soon as they tasted it, they sent it back. And we were like all young married couples, and it was one of the husbands. And I was like, oh my gosh, I mean, come on.
Was this cooked in wine?
Yeah, no, the wine cooks off. All right. It's the flavor. You're okay. And yet I had other friends that had no problem cooking with wine. They had wine in their home. And so there's a big difference, and to me that was extreme. I was like, wow, one thing in a restaurant, another thing to actually have wine in your house. How would you even buy that?
Well, the secret is it wasn't really wine, it was grape juice.
Oh, there you go. Oh my gosh, how did we all survive? All right, we're on our last one. This is another one of mine. You can read it, Landon.
I was so Mormon, I got Wilford Woodruff mixed up with Woodrow Wilson in a junior high history class. So embarrassing. I think we all have done that.
I was going to say, there's got to be one person out there that when they said, who is this? You're like, that would be Wilford Woodruff. And everyone's like, oh, that's that girl who can't sing Jesus Christ Superstar and was the zombie pioneer. Yeah, we've been with her the whole time here. Yeah, she's still just as geeked out as she ever was. But again, the church is your world, especially back in that era. You were raised like that, and it was your world. It was very hard to separate that from the real world. Eventually it happened, but
I still, whenever I say one of their names, I have to stop and say, did I say the right one?
Woodrow Wilson.
Too easy.
Yep, I think so. There you go. Okay, and I think we have one more. It's not a number. We went through 50. I was so Mormon that Mormon was my new name.
Well, that was a victory for Satan, wasn't it?
You know what? I wonder what they're doing about all those names. Because
have they changed that now? You can't be Mormon now in the temple name. You got to be Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah, member of the church. My name is what? Oh my gosh. Well, we made it. Are you too triggered, Landon? Are you feeling?
Oh, not too triggered. That was fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good to talk about that and find out that other people had similar experiences, that our families and parents interpreted some things the same way, but then others didn't have that, so it's kind of interesting to see where you fall on the bell curve, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
That's exactly it.
And we want the feedback, love
Yep.
to hear some other stories because I'm sure there's
Yes.
hundreds of others out there.
That is what I'm guessing, that our chat is just buzzing with all kinds of stories. So I hope that you'll comment and share yours. Because like I said, this one post had almost 400 comments on it, and these were just representational. There were some ones that were, of course, you can get into the very, very sad and tragic ones,
Dark,
and
yeah.
things that happened, abuse and stuff like that. And there are a lot of podcasts about this, but this was just supposed to be the cultural side, kind of,
Yeah.
how were we all raised and what were we doing? So anyway, I hope you guys liked it. It was interesting. We wanted to do something kind of fun and lighter for New Year's Eve. So since it is New Year's Eve, now everybody go out, do your thing. I hope you have something fun planned, and we will be back on Friday, right? Just like normal, 11 a.m. for the first Mormonish podcast of 2025. I can't even believe we're at that point. Can you?
We are getting closer and closer to the second coming. Every time I turn around, I'm thinking this is the year.
Now, are you starting the second coming fear-mongering rhetoric that I'm always posting about, Landon? Are you doing this?
FY25, that's
Now, Elder Stevenson has told us, the apostle, that it will not happen until the Olympics is over. So we have at least another 10 years, because heaven forbid we would not work to support the Olympics or build the infrastructure. We have to do that. So
that's why I said FY25. That's a fiscal year. And I think that Jesus will be based off fiscal years.
The fiscal year. Well, that makes sense. I mean,
got to make sure that the tithing's all in and accounted for, and that they've covered all the Olympic costs and all of those things that the church is going to be heavily investing in. Not, of course, not the Olympics, but everything church related that they will then invite everybody who does attend the Olympics to come see. So.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure that's why they're working so hard on the infrastructure of Temple Square.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they are working night and day, and they have all kinds of things, visitor centers planned and experiences for people to kind of explain more. Because when you used to visit Temple Square, a lot of the feedback was, we don't know what happens here. We have no idea. They pointed to a building and said, there it is. No idea. Now they're going to have little in the visitor center, rooms that look like the temple rooms that can actually serve as a temple. It can be dedicated and undedicated, but it'll be more like an open house where people, again, though, an open house doesn't really tell you what happens, right? People come out of open houses going, I'm not sure I understand, but at least it'll be more than it was. So they're working hard.
They got to get that Heber temple up so that every background shot of cross-country skiers has the temple in it.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that. So
yeah, I know.
That's nasty. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for hanging in there for another year with us. We just love all of our viewers and listeners so much. Please comment and let us know how Mormon were you? Let's get a lot of comments going. I love it. We're all in this together, right? We're not in it anymore. We're all out of this together. Is that what we're saying?
That's right. Either way.
Either way, that's right. So please like and subscribe to Mormonish Podcast. And if you'd like to be made aware of when new episodes come out, you can hit the notification bell. There are always links in the show notes to how you can help financially support Mormonish Podcast. We have so many wonderful viewers and listeners that do make these contributions every month. It's just incredible to us. That's our favorite part of doing it, is just knowing that, our content means something to people. And, I love it. I just absolutely love it. And all the people that we get to meet and to know. So you guys are wonderful. We have links in our show notes to our merch store if you want to pick up any Mormonish merchandise. And again, we'll just say just the happiest of New Year's, right, Landon?
That's right. Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy New Year, everybody. And just to a wonderful 2025. We will see you back again on Friday, 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Mormonish. We really appreciate our listeners and would love to hear from you if you have a story you'd like to share. You can email us at mormonishpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on our website, mormonishpodcast.org. And don't forget to look for us on YouTube and like and subscribe. Keep joyful, everybody.